Hello, my name is Savohnn Montinez. Many people know and play basketball, but they might not know the history of basketball. Basketball started with a YMCA gym teacher named James Kingston. His boss requested that he make an indoor game for athletes so that they could stay in shape during New England winters. Naismith soon came up with a new game which he called basketball. The main goal of the game was to throw a ball into the goal being made of peach baskets nailed 10 feet high. There are only 13 rules in basketball's first invented. Compared to the many rules now, that was a small number. One of the main rules was that the player could not move around with the ball. As you can see from today's basketball, that rule has changed. The first international event that held basketball was the 1936 Berlin Olympics. At the event, they honored James Naismith for creating the sport. The countries that received the medal were the US, Canada, and Mexico, with the US placing gold for this event. The first national professional basketball game was in 1946 and in Toronto, Canada. The New York Knickerbockers faced off against the Toronto Huskies. The Knickerbockers ultimately won, starting the National Basketball League, which later turned into the NBA. Before the NBA came to be, it was initially two leagues, the BAA, or the Basketball Association of America, and the NBL, or the National Basketball League. The NBL formed in 1938, and the BAA formed in 1946. In 1949, the two leagues merged together to form the NBA that we know and love today. The NBA has many more different teams than in the BAA and NBL's league, but there are a few facilities today, plus many more teams added after the NBA was formed. A few notable teams that still exist today are the Minnesota Lakers, the Boston Celtics, the Philadelphia Warriors, the Rochester Royals, and the Fort Wayne Pistons. The Minneapolis Lakers, now the Los Angeles Lakers, are one of the teams that existed from the start of the NBA to the finish. They moved to Los Angeles from Minnesota and have been a successful team, winning 16 NBA titles as of 2017. The next team still existing today is the Philadelphia Warriors. They sit in Philadelphia at the start of the NBA, but then they moved to California where they now reside in today. They've won 5 championships since the start of the NBA and have had competitive teams and series in the NBA. We now have the Boston Celtics, one of the most, if not the most, successful NBA team of all time. They've won 17 NBA championships, and they've never left the city they started from at the start of the NBA. Even now, the Celtics are still one of the greatest teams in the NBA. To make basketball more exciting to watch and safer for players, more rules were added or changed to the BAA or NBL rules, some of which include dribbling the ball to move around, and the addition of more fouls like charging into someone that is guarding you. Without these added and changed rules, basketball wouldn't be nearly as safe or as fun to watch as it is now. The start of the NBA immediately brought superstars to the basketball scene. The stars that we know today from that time are Jerry West, Will Chamberlain, Pete Maravich, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, and many more. Stars like these helped basketball become more popular since everyone knew at the time who they were and how good of a basketball player they were as well. Though some African Americans were in professional basketball before the NBA, they were not allowed until 1950 when Chuck Cooper, Nat Clifton, and Earl Lloyd became the first African Americans in the NBA. Earl Lloyd was the first of the three men. The others followed him after. The men were successful in the NBA and paved the way for stars like Kobe Bryant and LeBron James. After the start of the NBA really did not change as much, apart from the new rules. In my opinion, the golden age of change and basketball in general came in the 1980s and 1990s. But before the 1980s started, there was one more league that was to merge with the NBA. In 1957, the Anaheim Amigos faced off against the Oakland Oaks, starting the American Basketball Association, or ABA. The ABA was a flashier version of the NBA, with events like the world's first dunk contest and the addition of the three-point line. After the association had financial problems, it merged with the NBA in 1976, adding more teams and aspects to the NBA. The 1980s and 1990s were the greatest times for NBA basketball. Stars like Michael Jordan, Larry Bird, and Magic Johnson helped improve basketball's popularity even more with their skills. The well-known basketball shoes we know today originated in the 80s and 90s. Everything that happened in this period has inspired the basketball that we know today. Though there are many other great basketball players, I and many others agree that Michael Jordan is the greatest player of all time. He has won 6 NBA championships, is a 5-time MVP, has one of the highest jumps in basketball, and has signature shoes, Jordans. He's arguably the most well-known and best player of all time. If Michael Jordan was the greatest basketball player of all time, then the 1992 U.S. men's Olympic basketball team was the greatest team ever put together. From the start, every team in the Olympics were in awe of this team. Made up of great stars from the 1990s, this team was most likely to win, and they did, winning gold in the Olympics that year. Basketball now is a little different than from back in the day, with the addition of women's leagues such as the WNBA and international leagues such as the FIBA overseas. Basketball still has the same spirit though, and I think I've done a good job explaining the history of that spirit. I hope you think so too.